here we are for another Birds of a Feather episode. I'm Mike Byrd with an I, and I'm joined with Aimee Byrd, that is Bird with a Y, where we
With a
discuss
Y.
all things about the church, discipleship, gender, and Amy's increasing assortment of enemies that she seems to be racking up. Speaking of enemies, the some of the latest things I've seen, I saw at CBMW, Colin Smothers wrote an article pointing out, Aimee, pointing to your blatant hypocrisy. Because once you said that, the pulpit is, for men. The pulpit is for men. But now you have reneged on that and you went and spoke in a church. And that was a Southern Baptist church. And Southern Baptist churches, if they hold to the BFM 2000, they are not meant to have female preachers, speakers, or anything like that. So, I mean, you've left the OPC, gone into a new ecclesiastical space, and you are spreading your chaos and infamy wherever you go, like a teenage boy and his 4-week-old socks, wherever you go,
Ooh.
Aimee. So
never wanted to be compared to that, but
a teenage boy's
worse,
4-week-old unwashed socks.
Yeah.
Well, it was that or Jezebel, and I thought this was the more tasteful of the metaphors.
Yeah.
So, Aimee, what do you have to say about that? Well, I have quite a lot to say.
First, I was impressed because he took an article I wrote in 2013. It's 2022. So I'm just like, wow, Colin's been reading the archives on my blog. So I found that very interesting that he quoted from an article I wrote in 2013 in which I was answering a question from a reader, I think, about the difference between a woman writing a blog and a woman speaking in church, I think is what it was. So that was interesting. And he titled it "That Was Then and This Is Now." And so, man, that title just hit me. I was like, correct. Aimee in 2013 was very naive to what was going on in the complementarian world, and so, in my response, I, talked about what I learned about then. And, I learned some pretty ugly things. I learned that they hold the Danvers statement over like Nicene confessional Trinitarianism. I learned that, when I thought I could have a conversation about that, well, actually, I'll be vilified for that, but it's the men that'll do the talking. I'm not even worth engaging in the Trinity debate that began on my blog. And then I noticed that, challenging anything in complementarianism gets you blacklisted pretty quickly, and that, I can be treated in all kinds of horrible ways in my own denomination by the church officers and have no voice in the whole process. And I've learned a whole lot then. And so, yes, this is now. And now, after being through what I've been through in the last couple of years, and just in my quest to learn more about discipleship, just to want to be discipled well and to be a disciple and to talk about that topic, not talk about, who can preach, who can teach, in church leadership even, has made me go back and reevaluate a lot. And I was invited to speak at this church. I spent some prayer and time in the Word and talking with my husband and, some friends. And I couldn't find a reason to say no to the invitation to speak. I'm not a preacher, I'm not a church officer, but I was given the opportunity to share something I spent a lot of work on and am very passionate about. And I got to talk about the meaningfulness of our sexuality being created male and female, the preacher there had been preaching through Revelation, and so I found it very harmonizing that I could speak about the Song of Songs, because I see a lot of intertextual echoes and allusions between the two books. And the topic was making visible the invisible, and the typology that we see of man and woman in the Song of Songs. So that was very exciting. And it was received well. I didn't go online talking about it because I didn't want it to be this thing, but then it was on CBMW.
Yeah, but you did that, but you did do a response to.
I responded after it was on, and before Colin Smothers wrote a piece, there were, some church officers in the OPC going on social media. Somehow they dug it up that I was there, and the pastor there, he had advertised it, so I guess that's how they found it, and they were coming after him. And I mean, it's pretty sad when I'm getting reassurance from a preacher that there'll be security guards at the church service. Like that's what every speaker wants to hear.
Every woman wants to hear.
Yeah, and so I mean, but that's what I had to hear, and it was a really good experience. It was received well. People were engaged with it. I was welcomed there. I got to speak with the women that evening on the beautiful multi-ethnic bride of Christ. So all good things, but I was quiet about it on social media. But like I said, there were some, and then others who were like in Genevan Commons saying a bunch of stuff. I was just ignoring all of that, and then next thing you know, I'm on the CBMW news, and so I did respond to that because I felt like, okay, well, here's where I am. I'm going to respond and say, yeah, that was then, this is now. Here's where I'm thinking through these things. But what in the world, man?
But it was, I know.
I mean, it's like they push you out, and then they come at, like when you wrote about I was thinking the exact same metaphor. It's like the abusive spouse, right? That you try to leave and they keep coming after you.
Yeah.
It's like I think they punish you for moving on.
Yeah. Must be punished for either staying or leaving. Staying and complaining, or packing. I think that's the metaphor. But I loved your own response. But you said, I have changed because I now see that, and you listed all the things that you never saw before. The things about the abuse of power. What happens with women question like, are you guys really standing for historic Christian Trinitarian doctrine, or just pumping out some nonsense to keep your own male hierarchy going? When you raise questions, even within the complementarian scheme, as a woman, you will be punished, you will be labeled, you will be ostracized. And you pointed to all the things, I have changed because now I can see that you chaps are a bunch of gangsters, a bunch of thugs.
Well, that's not the way I put it, but
words to that effect. To use a technical legal.
I will say I got a surprise in the mail today from Eric Schumacher, who's a Baptist pastor, and he had a shirt made for me, and it says, "This is now" on the front, and on the back it says, "That was then."
Well, no, what we need to get is shirts which say "Leave her alone" with a picture of Aimee Byrd, the "Leave her alone" from the Gospel of John, which maybe we should hand out at ETS.
Ooh, that'd be awesome.
Yes, that would be a great idea. If you want a T-shirt that with a picture of Aimee Byrd on the front of it with the words #Leave her alone on it, maybe we could do a group order on this. I don't know. I mean, can you get T-shirts made in America? Do they make T-shirts in America?
Yeah, man. And I think let's see if we can get Wayne Grudem to wear one.
I think we can do that. We can get him to wear one with some creative graphic design. I'm sure we can find a way. Speaking of Wayne Grudem, I've noticed also that Wayne has been pushing the second edition of his book on Christian theology, and I think that one on Bible doctrine. And his marketing strategy seems to be to name drop yourself. So he mentions how he has always been committed to Nicene doctrine, and Aimee Byrd, who accuses him of not holding to Nicene doctrine, Aimee has been bearing false witness to him. And
he accused me of breaking the ninth commandment.
As part of his marketing strategy for his new book.
As part of his marketing on his author page to market his book. I mean, the very first word is bird. And I'm like, whoa, wow, people just know, like, without the Aimee? Like, it was just weird to me, you know, like, bird. And then I just thought, what the heck? Are you serious? Like, because I remember, I don't have his revised edition of his systematic theology, but I remember a professor going on Twitter saying, oh, reading through Wayne Grudem's revised systematic theology, and he spends a page and a half casting shade on Aimee Byrd, talking about his eternal functional subordination of the Son. And it's very interesting that he doesn't name any of the patristic scholars who critique them, or this professor who's written a book. It was Glenn Butner. You know, he's written a book on the son who learned obedience. You know, he doesn't name any men at all or scholars on it, but Aimee Byrd, and it was also questioning my morality there too,
as part of his marketing strategy.
Theology, but that was in a systematic theology book, and so I just thought, what? And so then now it's part of the marketing strategy. So I just thought, man, it's very revealing to me, you know, but it's also just so odd. It's bizarre, isn't it?
It is. It's weird and creepy. Like, okay, you want to do a Facebook promo of your new theology book. Fine. Mm-hmm. You mention a lay Christian woman who has demonstrated with great convincing powers that your view of the Trinity is out of sync of Christian tradition, and everyone has joined in and affirmed what she's basically said. But you focus on her and her critique and accuse her of lying in your Facebook post marketing the book. Now, I don't know. I don't know. In terms of kind of like being creepy and kind of marketing strategies and kind of misogyny, mm-hmm. It's a really weird Venn diagram, you know, like complementarianism, creepy, publicity, and you get there and there's like Aimee Byrd in the middle. I don't understand this.
I mean, I showed this stuff to my husband and he is just flabbergasted, you know, because it's you know, the strangest, you know, thing. Like, I can't tell you how many things I've been called this week on social media. I shared one of them, you know, saying I was a wicked false teacher, you know, and that's a horrible thing to say. You know, Aimee Byrd is a wicked false teacher, you know, public statement. But that's the shareable version. Like, I'm reading things so vile and sexually disgusting about myself. Those are anonymous accounts usually, you know, and so you're just like, okay, why?
I know. I'm just baffled as well as, like, in all the ways to market a book. I mean, this is the thing. Someone thinks accusing Aimee Byrd of being a liar for her critique of the Trinity is going to help me sell more books.
Yeah, and to me, it's the whole trope of the devil in the shape of a woman, because it isn't just like Aimee Byrd was wrong, you know, it's that I am breaking the ninth commandment. I'm in sin. It's a moral thing. And so I find that very interesting that it goes straight to you know, just in like a couple, like what, 2 sentences? And that was it. That was the marketing.
Yeah, I know. And there's been a lot of other critiques of Grudem's view of the Trinity by a lot of people. You could get a long list.
Scholars,
none of them get mentioned. None of them get, none of them get accused of lying or breaking the ninth commandment.
But they called his writing foolish. Like,
yeah, I know. It's so telling. And the thing is, I keep saying, you guys are misogynistic thugs, and they keep saying, no, we're not. And then they do something like this.
No, we're not. Right. I don't know. I mean, I haven't been throwing out, you're a misogynist to any of them, but I just don't know. It's just so strange. I don't get it. I don't get how even that would help sell his book.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
I mean, will that help sell his book? I don't understand why that would be attractive for it.
Well, as someone who has been contracted by the Aimee Byrd Defense League, as a kind of mercenary gun for hire, I am outraged. Perplexed and annoyed. I don't know. But Aimee, in one way, I would take it as a compliment. I would take it as a compliment because it means you are living rent-free in their heads. They are thinking about you a lot. And
well, one side it's like, okay, maybe it's a badge of honor that the major CBMW people who want to still uphold the subordination of the son thing, but don't think highly of me. But on the other hand, Wayne Grudem's systematic theology is very widely read. It's he doesn't really need that kind of advertisement. And I know just in visiting churches, after I left the OPC, my husband and I were at this one church where, they were talking about wanting to go deeper into learning us in a systematic theology, and they held up that book that they're going to read, and so they're sitting. I'm just thinking, imagine when they get to page whatever it is,
and they mention you.
Where it's not just that I'm mentioned, it's not that he is disagreeing with me, it's not just a critique of my work, it's like casting shade on my integrity. So, it is like, I just can't escape it.
Yeah, I know. I think this is the price of you being the celebrity you are, Aimee. This is
hardly. That's the other part that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
But for people watching, I need to point out that Aimee and I just had a previous chat with the wonderful Caitlin Beatty about her book Celebrities for Jesus. There'll be a forthcoming a video coming out in the
teaser
future.
There.
Yeah, but anyway, Aimee, let's change topics to something a little bit more positive and uplifting. How is the book launch for your sexual reformation book? Your study largely of the Song of Songs, and how's that begun? You're now in full swing. I think the book is now out. What's the reception like from people who are, what's that word for people who are not crazy and perpetually angry? Normal people. What's been the response from normal people?
Yeah, it's been really nice. So the book came out March 8th, but it's kind of like we're doing this kind of slow rev launch because we're having like a virtual event on April, maybe the 16th, I think. So that's going to be an online event. If you've purchased the book, you can register and be a part of it. And so I interview with you and Sheila Gray-Gore and Beth Allison Barr and Tiffany Bloom and Nijay Gupta. And we talk about sexual reformation in the different areas, like in the home, in the church, and the academy. And so I'm really excited about doing that. So that's forthcoming still. So like that's the launch, right? It's a little down the road. But so I've been doing, podcast interviews and reading some reviews and stuff like that. And it's just been great to engage with people who are receiving it well, who I think, one of my favorite things has been interviewing with some pastors and some of them academics who have told me like, man, I was scared to death to ever get near the Song of Songs in my pulpit. Like I was not going to preach on the song, but now I'm just excited about it and feel like a confidence that I can share and do a series on the song. And that just gets me really excited.
Well, that is good. That's fantastic. I mean, that's probably one of the best compliments You
Yeah.
can have
And then it's
taking.
odd because like normally on Amazon, I'd have like a number of reviews by now, whether if they're good or bad or whatever, right? And it's been, on the number one release, this past 3 weeks or so, the whole time, and even a bestseller at some points. But you know how your publisher sends out review copies. One of the reviewers got to me and said she got this message. She tried to put a review on it. It said, Amazon has noticed unusual reviewing activity on this product. Due to this activity, we've limited this product to verified purchase reviews.
I wonder why that would be.
And I'm just like, are you serious? I mean, I'm kind of thankful that, if there were trolls kind of trying to come after my review page, that it was caught. But then at the same time, now that blocks, actual reviews from getting in.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it hasn't affected like what looks like the sales of the book. So that's good. But I'm excited to get more reviews in. I have noticed, I've read one negative review. And I mean, it's interesting because, it's definitely from somebody who comes from the group of people who don't like me very much. And he's a pastor. But it's interesting to see, I think, there's some things in the book that might be the first time people have thought about some of this, like typology. It's more abstract thinking. And I think it's hard to read the song without being able to have that understanding of allegory and typology and metaphor and these things. I think we've become so accustomed, though, in our ways of thinking, like, we're so doctrinal that, we want to have all these presuppositional statements and these doctrinal statements, but we kind of lose our curiosity and our imagination and our joy even in reading. And in this review, I was just like, wow, like he just didn't get it at all. There was no ability to conceive of male and female beyond hierarchy. There's just no, and so therefore, things that I wrote and they were completely misconstrued, like it wasn't at all the meaning that I was going for of what they took from it, but it's such a fear, I think, that woman might be elevated, so
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that. I mean, there were so many areas that were just misconstrued and misrepresented that it would take too long to respond. So
Yeah.
I didn't think.
Well, I mean, negative reviews are going to be inevitable. It always comes down to
book, so.
Yeah. I mean, it always comes down, if someone's at least engaging the content, that's good, rather than just smearing you on the basis of reputation.
Yeah, but like one thing, and this has happened with CBMW with my last book, Recovering. When they misrepresent your writing so badly, and especially if you have someone with a platform like CBMW, I had to respond to that because people will read that, and if that's what I actually wrote, then they're thinking that's what I actually wrote, and so you want to correct some of that misrepresentation from bigger platforms. Even if they are quote unquote engaging with your work, they're not engaging with good intentions. They're not engaging with your actual, like, in a way that I would agree that that's what I wrote.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, that's misrepresenting what you're doing is never a fun thing. Well, I'm glad the launch is in full swing.
Yeah,
sounds like
it's exciting.
It's going well, and the book is getting out there. This is a book, on Song of Songs. This is a book, Aimee, that may inspire a generation, and if preached properly, may even help create one. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens with that. So yeah. But let's change topics again. I don't know whether you've been watching the news, Aimee, but we've been having some church scandals in, of all places, Australia. Can you believe?
Celebrity culture has entered Australia.
Yep. This week, Brian Houston, the founding pastor of Hillsong, the global church, and they have churches, campuses like all over the world. They're in New York. They're in LA. I think they're even in Arizona. I mean, is that a place? Arizona? No, I think it is a place. They're in Arizona. They're all over the world. They're in Paris. I think they're in Berlin.
Oh wow.
Their senior pastor resigned. I mean, there's there are some legal issues going on because Brian Houston's father confessed to sexually abusing a boy in New Zealand in the 1970s. And although Brian Houston has acknowledged that took place and he's been fairly open with it, the issue is, did he take measures to kind of conceal the activity? That's the legal thing he's facing. But there's also been revelations of inappropriate activity with female colleagues, including texting one female colleague late at night and turning up and knocking on a door and entering a female's room while he was both intoxicated and under the influence of medication. And what's been really sad is that, from my view, he's been using medication as the excuse as to why he was doing these things. Now, I do know medication can alter people's behavior and the like, but I don't think medication can be regarded as an excuse. Maybe in some circumstances mitigating behavior, but it's certainly not a defense of behavior like this. So he's now resigned, and Hillsong's going through a kind of a process of, trying to rethink accountability and that type of thing. Although at the moment it seems to be very much internal. There doesn't seem to be any external bodies coming in to review and recommend, and that's something we would obviously hope for. But what are your thoughts? I mean, do you do a little bit of like shout to the Lord? Do you sing that along at church? Have you ever attended a Hillsong conference? Is Hillsong a thing in your part of America?
I mean, it's kind of a thing. I mean, there isn't a local, church of it around here. And I'm in the DC area. I don't think that there's one in DC. But, I guess I've followed more of what's happened in New York. And so similar stuff with Carl Lentz, right? I mean, the affairs and I think that our interview with Caitlin Beatty, just really was important for these reasons, because it's that celebrity culture that is so ingrained in the Hillsong churches, and the pastors are kind of like celebrities there. And
they're pastor to celebrities in some senses, and
they're pastors to celebrities, but they also take on that persona themselves. And they look the look. And I mean, you read about how they're kind of untouchable. Like, they don't have relationships with the regular people in the church, just the important people. And they dress like the important people and spend the money like the important people. And I mean, that is just so the opposite of Christ or the apostles. It's just not the model that we're given at all, and or taught. So it's a theology of glory instead of the cross.
Well, say not a theology of servanthood. I mean, if you're kind of wearing, gourmet sneakers and ridiculous amounts of jewelry and posting, Instagram photos of you working out with weights. I'm pretty vain, but I do not do that. I do not go around. I mean, to be as my wife could tell you, if I dress myself putting my shirt on the right way and not inside out, that itself is an achievement. I'm notorious for turning up to work wearing my shirt inside out, and someone telling me, "Mike, your shirt's inside out," and I have incredible problems about my collars on shirts. Wherever I go, people have to adjust my collar for me. So
we don't have to worry about you falling into that trap.
No. I mean, for me, clothes are nothing more than covering my nakedness, and I have no interest. So I cannot get excited about clothing. It's like, ooh, that's nice, or I got to wear that. If I have a kind of area of sort of, how would you call it, affluence or temptations, I've got to be careful, because I'm always coveting the latest tennis racket. I always want to. I've got a pure arrow. Maybe I could go for a kind of the new Wilson blades are out. That could really help the kick on my second.
That doesn't probably help with the Instagram pastor pictures or anything, though.
No, it doesn't. I've noticed when I tweet about tennis, I don't get a lot of likes or retweets. When I tweet about Aimee Byrd and CBMW, I do get a lot of mentions and a lot of what's the metric they use? A lot of attention or a lot of notifications. But when I'm mentioning about the latest tennis racket or about Carlos Alcaraz, up and coming tennis player,
not so much.
Yeah, no one pays a lot of attention to me.
Well, to connect all these dots in a nice bow, we had interviewed Caitlin Beatty on Celebrities for Jesus, her book coming out in August. And we're talking about this kind of Hillsong celebrity stuff. And she gives a bit of a history of the, celebrity pastors. But she left one out that I was looking for, and her name is Aimee, and it's spelled the same as my name. And Aimee Semple McPherson in the 1930s, man, she was a major celebrity pastor. And I mean, judges welcomed her, presidents, I think, did. She was the bee's knees all over the place and was on the front page of the paper constantly. And it's interesting because, social media then, it was just beginning, right? But she really used radio and the paper, magazines, whatever she could to her advantage. And, that ended pretty crazy too. Because
how did that end? I'm not familiar.
Well, first they think she faked her own death at first. She was missing for quite a while. Like she had, she had left her first husband because God told her to go and evangelize and all this and heal people and things. But then she had like multiple men in her life, and then she died. I mean, kind of a drug overdose. It was like too many sleeping pills, I think. With maybe one. I can't remember why. I've read a couple biographies on her, but I have to go back and get the details right because her life is fascinating. I mean, it's just crazy, but it is this train wreck that you see, and it's this celebrity, and all. You just look at the complicity, because like, if you want to talk about this Hillsong thing, it's not just the one person, right? It's the other
Praetorian
leaders.
Guard. You cannot have an emperor without a Praetorian Guard.
Right. They do it because they can, and they're being platformed this way. But then you got all the adoring fans. I mean, we're talking about this thinking like, not attracted to go to a Hillsong church, but many, many people are. They're big churches. And so, there's a lot of factors, I think, to think about.
I'll tell you what's an interesting dynamic. In Australia, the left-wing media despises Hillsong. They hate them with a passion. You can even find weird conspiracy theories that Hillsong is secretly taking over the Australian government, because our current prime minister is kind of Pentecostal, and he is friends with Brian Houston, and I think he spoke at his church like.
Well, then it must be a takeover.
Yeah, and if any member of parliament visits this church, then they become a member of the church in the eyes. So it's like out of the Australian government's like 30 ministers, 35 of them are bona fide members of Hillsong Church. I mean, it's kind of crazy stuff. So in Sydney, they liked having a guy in America who was liked. The media liked him. He was kind of like, the pastor of the celebrities, that they liked having someone who was in Hillsong, and was liked. I mean, he was, he was with the in crowd. Whereas in Australia, Hillsong is very much really, really despised for all sorts of reasons. Even within some Christian circles, the Sydney Anglicans really, really do like Hillsong. But part of it's because of like prosperity doctrine,
right,
and theological differences. But I think the New York thing was kind of the jewel in the crown of the Hillsong franchise, because it was the one place where Hillsong were the cool kids rather than the weirdo Pentecostals, that everyone either envies or despises. So I think that's another part of the phenomenon. But we'll have to see what happens there. Maybe Amy, maybe we should go to New York because I've never been to New York. I mean, my wife has been to New York. She's been to New York. I haven't
Report
been
from
to New York.
Hillsong.
Yeah, so maybe we should go visit Hillsong in New York one day. Pop in. I know they've got a new pastor there. I can't
Hmm.
remember the guy's name, but I have met him, and from
Oh,
what I
okay.
know, he's a lovely, humble man. So
Well, I just the thing about it, obviously that is the worst is just the witness for Christ, and to see these pastors with uh, all the scandal with God's people. I mean, it's devastating. And then I feel like, yeah, then you're left to pick up the pieces to outsiders looking in, trying to explain, well, we're not all like that, and that's not the whole church, but it's just they're so famous. So I just think it really hurts the witness for Christ and what discipleship is, and the actual integrity of the faith.
yeah, it's not a good look. It's not a good look at all. But you would hope that a lot of these institutions eventually would come away, having a good look at this. I mean, look at Christianity Today. I mean, they've done a bit of a self-diagnosis on some sexual harassment by members who were there, and
Yeah.
that they've been fairly open. So you would hope that some of these organizations can come to some sober reflections on who they are, some wrongs that have been done historically or in the present, and change all of their, the patterns, the governance, and the accountability structures to make that doesn't happen again. So,
Yeah, because I mean, obviously this is in the news, this is a big church, and we should all be appalled. But I've heard plenty of stories of this kind of stuff in little churches, you know, where the
yeah,
pastor though is king, or maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's an elder or some other person, but there's just no accountability. So I think we have a lot of work to do. And it's sad because I 100% think we need to bring in third party for these type of things. And it's sad that has to be done.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, Amy, that's a somewhat dour note to end on. Do you have anything uplifting? I mean, do you have any ideas for a next book? I don't know. I mean,
Oh, well, you know what I've been working on, Mike? And I don't know if I'll, publish this or not, but I'm just not done with the Song of Songs. And, it was nice to be able to take it at the kind of handle of looking at it in terms of the church's need for a sexual reformation. And I, very much enjoyed writing chapters geared towards that and
mhm.
working from the song. But what I'm working on now is just meditations, going through the song. And I think, that's something that we don't have a lot of now. We have devotionals, and we have like more scholarly commentaries, but I've really been enjoying, going a little deeper than a devotional, and a little more scholarly than a devotional, um, and doing meditations, going through the Song of Songs. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm really enjoying it.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. They'll no doubt be edifying for people to use. Would that be like a Bible study resource or kind of a
I mean, it definitely could
personal?
be a Bible study resource, and I think it could be like targeting the people. I think there's a good market of people who want something a little deeper than the daily devotional stuff, for their daily readings, but maybe not as dry as a commentary, like something that could be a little more personal for them. And I just think the song, not only does it teach us how to read all of Scripture well, but it also just answers so many of our basic questions and longings that we have. So that's what I'm trying
Okay,
to aim for with that.
that's good. Well, that's something for the future we can look forward to one day. Yeah, my book projects are more of the boring
Yeah. What about you?
scholarly. I'm doing well, my next one book is Religious Freedom in a Secular Age, which is talking about religious freedom and what is the nature of secularism. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Also, a technical book on early Christology called Jesus Amongst the Gods, which is what does it mean to call Jesus a god in the context of the ancient world and all the different ways
Oh,
of talking
wow.
about
That sounds
gods and divine
fascinating.
beings. That's kind of like peak Bible nerd stuff.
I like Bible nerd stuff.
Yeah, but I am also plugging away on a volume called A Bird's Eye View of Luke Acts, because Luke Acts, did you know, Aimee, makes up 28% of the New Testament. It is
it is a big chunk, huh?
It's big, and Paul's letters are only 24%, and
Wow.
and John's material is 21%. So
So
Luke
Luke,
Acts is bigger than Paul in the New Testament. So
some people think Luke wrote Hebrews.
Yeah, I mean, well, some people think Priscilla wrote Hebrews. Could be the one book of the New Testament written by a woman. The only thing we know about Hebrews is we don't know who wrote it.
Yeah. Well, you same with Song of Songs, but I threw in there that there are scholars who believe it was a woman who wrote the song, and that was one of the big negative critiques of my book.
A biblical book written by a woman? Is that
woman.
legal? Is that possible? Yeah, well, we'll have to see what happens. Well, anyway, Aimee, it's getting late in your evening. And
yes, I'm in the darkness now.
Yeah, it is. So it's always a pleasure to chat to you. And keep enjoying the Sexual Reformation book launch. No doubt we can keep following you on social media to find out about all the podcast interviews, discussions,
yeah, those have been
roundtables.
fun. I've been trying to keep up with posting those.
Okay, good. Well, I still enjoy getting them. So keep up the good work on that score.
I hope your family gets healthy soon, and
Yes, the COVID monster has finally come to the Byrd household.
Yeah, that you're not quarantined for too long.
Yeah, well, we've already done 7 days. We'll have to see how much longer we've got to go. But yeah, it's been a fairly mild for our children
I'm glad
so
to hear
far.
that.
So, but we will survive because we have all this life to live and we have all this love to give. We will survive. Although it does sound better.
A positive ending.
It is. Okay. Well, thanks to everyone for watching and listening. If you like, feel free to hit the subscribe button, or if you have a comment, or if you definitely want a Leave Her Alone t-shirt, maybe, just maybe we could figure out a way to do a group order. I don't know. I'm not really, I don't want to become a celebrity with my own merch. That's never been my goal, Aimee. That's never been my goal. But maybe that's something that would be.
I love fun t-shirts, so
I think that's something. I just want to wear it at ETS. That's all I want to do.
Yeah, I might go to ETS again if I get to wear the t-shirt.
That would be a lot. That was the sound of my wife laughing in the background, by the way. If you didn't pick it up. Well, all the best, Aimee. I'll catch you around, and we'll see everyone the next time we have a Birds of a Feather episode.
Okay.
Bye.